and that stands for Food Insecurity Safety Coalition. And this was something that Sammy Shaban has long felt passionate about in Franklin Township, and he decided to assemble a group of people to actually make it happen. Sammy, tell us what this is and how it's important for Franklin and how it's going to be manifested so that Franklin can take part in it.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot, PJ. I think food insecurity is a big issue within Franklin. Within our school district, we have almost 45% Title I, meaning that our children need assistance with even purchasing lunch. And so when we think about the desperate needs that we have within our community, there's no better way to solve them than to bring together the greatest minds in our community, from the Board of Education to Township Council to the YMCA to over 70 houses of worship, the Youth Center, and many other folks to come together to solve just one problem, which is food insecurity. How do we cure food insecurity, not just today, but for the rest of Franklin's time? And when we look across the state, we find that Franklin is really the only town that's collectively trying to solve this problem at this level. And so this is actually a model that we're hoping to create. But for now, today's mapping session is just to understand where we're actually hitting the ball really well and where we actually need to fill in some gaps to serve the folks that actually need to solve this food insecurity problem.
Mm-hmm. How are we identifying who that public is?
Well, we have all of the right people in the room, right? So you have the food bank is here, the YMCA, the Board of Education, the Township Council. Through these various organizations, we already know who some of those folks are, and we're trying to understand their needs. We actually have people that are food insecure in the room with us as well, to discuss the needs that they're facing. We have people that work directly with them at an individual level, and then we have the system operators that are running the entire education system here with us as well. So by bringing all these folks together, we're hopeful that we will capture, by and large, most of the folks in need.
Mm-hmm. And you've assembled quite a cross-section of people who are significant in this community. Tell us a little bit about this group, and I know you want to introduce Mark, who has coordinated this particular effort.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, tried to get the best minds out there within the Franklin context. And so we're talking about the leadership of the education system, the leadership of the Township Council, the leadership of the YMCA, and so on, to be able to come together, the leaderships of the faith-based community, of which Mark is one of the members. Mark is actually a doctor in this science of organizational management and figuring out how to map what we are good at and where we can fill in some of those holes. So I'll pass it off to Dr. Mark Avery.
Well, nice to meet you, Dr. Mark.
Great to see you.
Tell us about your role in this and what you feel is going to be gleaned from tonight's meeting.
Sure. So essentially what we're doing is we're forming a shared picture of how food insecurity works in Franklin Township. And we're doing that together. We're doing that from multiple perspectives, from health, from food insecurity for the food banks, from maybe the school system. And so as we combine those perspectives, we need a place for all those perspectives to go. And so that's what we're mapping out. We're mapping out a story about how food insecurity works. And then we're going to look at, okay, so how does my piece of the puzzle, what I bring to the table, how does that help us to respond to food insecurity? And then the last question, how could we connect the dots so that we're working together in order to respond to food insecurity in the county? So again, this is just one small part, one small chapter in a very long conversation about food insecurity that has gone on long before this and will continue long after. But this is our part, and we want to do this well.
Mm-hmm. And I understand there's obviously a school component to this, where some kids are able to have meals provided for them, and others come to school hungry and are not able to concentrate and are fearful about discussing the fact that they are hungry. And that's where I think Dr. Ravalli can address this situation. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate your attendance and your participation in this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And this is Dr. John Ravalli, school superintendent. Tell us about your role.
Okay. So obviously, as Sammy said, we have students that attend our schools that come in the morning, and we're able to support them and feed them breakfast, and then they go to lunch and we're able to get them lunch, but we only have them for a limited amount of time during the day, and we recognize that some of our students and some of our families then in the evenings and on the weekends struggle with access to nutritious meals. And we're hopeful that we can continue some of our partnerships and maybe find new partnerships that will allow us to address some of those needs. And no kid should ever be hungry, and certainly no family should ever be limited to nutritious meals. So we're hopeful that what this kind of work will do is allow us to make those connections and partnerships that will help to resolve that issue.
And will those meals able to be then available within the school system?
In the school system, outside of the school hours. I mean, the fortunate thing is through our lunch program, we're able to make breakfast and lunch available. It's the dinner and the weekends that are of the big concern. And, again, we've had some good partnerships with some like Franklin Food Bank and some other providers that addresses that, but it's, the need far outweighs what we've been able to do to date. So we're hopeful that this allows us to do a lot more.
Well, it's a lofty program, and it's certainly one that we're all aware of. But now we're putting it together in a way that is a greater outreach and getting to the heart of it on so many levels. It's a very, very exciting program, and one of our chief involvers in this is the head of our Franklin Food Bank, who can probably address food insecurity better than anyone in this community thus far. It's Derek Smith, who is the executive director of the Franklin Food Bank. And Derek, if you could just define what food insecurity really is. Thank you, Dr. Ravalli.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, PJ. I mean, there's a difference between being hungry and saying to yourself, oh, okay, no problem. I have some money in my pocket. I can go to the grocery store and buy some food and get something to eat, or I'll go out to a restaurant and order something to eat. When there's food insecurity, you're living a life as an individual and as a member of family of severe and significant uncertainty. And if you're not sure where your next meal is coming, for those of you who've never experienced that, that is a very, very difficult way to live. And it forces you to make some choices or some decisions that others are just not having to make, right? Am I going to eat a meal, or am I going to pay a light bill? Am I going to go grocery shopping, or am I going to pay for childcare? Am I going to feed my dog, or am I going to feed myself? That's some of the examples of what it means to be food insecure. And the reality of it is there are many more people now, right here in Franklin certainly, and across the country, that are dealing with food insecurity. It is not something that I think most people think that they have the stereotypical image of what that looks like. You'd be very surprised by the amount of folks that are dealing with food insecurity.
I know the food bank serves a number of families in the community. Do you mind sharing what that number might be?
Yeah, so we're seeing roughly somewhere between 990 and about 110 families a day that are coming to the Franklin Food Bank. And once a month, when we do our community distribution in partnership with the Franklin Township Police Department and the Greater Somerset YMCA, in about an hour and a half, we're seeing somewhere around 400 families that are coming through to pick up food, because that's when we open it up to not only Franklin Township, but all the neighboring communities as well. So it is everything from folks who are homeless, that do not have access to food whatsoever financially, to families that have a household income, maybe of $50,000 or $60,000, and they're coming to the Franklin Food Bank twice a month to supplement the food. So again, it's an expanding group of folks, both because of the nature of the economy that we're living in right now, as well as people, I think, having a better understanding of what resources are available to them through the Franklin Food Bank.
And the Franklin Food Bank, as great an organization as it is still struggling to serve that 400 family per unit as it is. How is this new program going to help the food bank?
It's another great question, PJ. I think for those of us who've been in this work for some time now, we fully recognize that the cliche is real. It takes a village, right? Food insecurity is just a symptom of other, unfortunately, really challenging situations that so many of our citizens right here in Franklin are facing, right? Whether it's housing or healthcare or the environment or whatever it may be, jobs, employment. So the solution for addressing food insecurity requires this cross-functional, cross-industry approach that we're seeing here as a part of FISC. So to know that we have members of the Chamber of Commerce, members of the Department of Education, leaders from houses of worship, folks from the food insecurity space, it is truly going to require us coming up with some really thoughtful and innovative ways to approach this situation that goes beyond just throwing money at the problem, It's part of the solution, but it's really more about the shift in mindset, the coordination, and the prioritization of this as something that, as a town and as a county, if we come together, we can actually address it and hopefully eradicate some of the stigma that is surrounding folks who do need to come and get food like this. But again, you've heard me say this, PJ, over and over again. This town is too wealthy, this county's too wealthy, this state is too wealthy, this country's too wealthy for us to be dealing with food insecurity. I mean, come on, y'all, this is ridiculous. We're able to spend a lot of money in other places, and we need to, again, prioritize and coordinate the things required to make sure that everybody in Franklin Township is food secure. So this is an amazing example of a group of people coming together that are mission aligned, that have the passion and have the infrastructure and the access to resources to do something that's very different. And I think we're trailblazing in the community, certainly across the county and across the state as well. So it's really exciting, and big up and props to my brother Sammy for leading this effort.
I would be remiss if I didn't say, Franklin, your donations and contributions to the food bank are more than welcome. They are necessary for this food bank to continue the remarkable job that it's doing. And I always tout your ambassador program. That is a monthly giving program by which you can contact the food bank either via its website or at its location on Churchill and offer as little as $10 a month, $5 a month.
$5 a month, $10 a month, and it's something that you're not even blinking at. And I'm telling you, that sustainable way of supporting the work that we're doing at the food bank is a game changer. Everybody knows NPR runs that same play. There's a reason why they do that. If we had the majority of folks here in town put $5 or $10 a month in the ambassador program, we wouldn't have to do nearly the fundraising that we have to do each and every year. And it's such an easy way to be able to contribute to the awesome work that we're doing at the food bank.
Right. It's passive income for the food bank. It's something by which the food bank is able to triple, almost quadruple its buying power. With your $1, that enables the food bank to buy $3 or $4 worth of merchandising through their wholesale relationships and other relationships with vendors in the community. So your dollar means everything, Franklin. It's really, really important for you to support this Franklin Food Bank. And in addition, the partnership that you're creating now with Fisk, it's going to be extraordinary. And I know there's some exciting things that are going on with the food bank. Are you able to chat about that yet?
We certainly have a bunch of interesting programs that we're rolling out this year that we're excited about, and more to come on that. And one of the things in particular, as we continue to burst at the seams in our food pantry, in our warehouse, in our office space, there are some incredible friends of the food bank that have presented a possible new location for us. So we're years away from that. I don't want to share too much information about it, but if this actually comes to fruition, it will be located in a neighborhood that needs us more than ever, and it will be something that will be really, really special, that will serve all of Franklin Township while also providing some acute support for a particular neighborhood that is in need, that is filled with beautiful, beautiful, awesome people that need to have something like this in their community. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Stay tuned. One of my favorite lines. Thank you so much, Derek.
Appreciate you. Thank you,
Absolutely. Always. Always. And next we have the renowned Mr. Ed Potosnik, who is such an environmentalist. I'd like you just to briefly touch on the organization that you head and what your role in this particular Fisk organization is in conjunction with the fact that you've been a Board of Education member and now you are on the town council. What's your role in this?
Well, so I am the official co-chair of Fisk, but I'd say it's more like vice chair or something like that. I mean, big props go out to Sammy Shaban, school board member and school board vice president, for really having the vision, what I think is sort of a no-brainer, bringing people together and finding ways to work together to leverage the assets that they have to make our efforts have a more positive impact on families that are in need. And these are young people, as Dr. Valley mentioned, in our schools, and their parents, their friends and family, their grandparents, multi-generational, in a struggling with food security. And how can you get on with anything else if you don't have the energy, the sustenance in yourself to make it through the day? And luckily, many people don't have to think about that. We're here today to think about the families that are experiencing that and how we can remove barriers, how we can, again, leverage the different assets that we have, whether it's the municipal, the nonprofits, the houses of worship. Of course, the schools have played a very active role. And then you mentioned I was on the school board and president of the school board at one point. During the pandemic, Dr. Ravalli had talked about making food deliveries and how that really made a difference. I mean, 47 square miles, Franklin, it's sometimes long in the amount of time to get from place to place. If you have a lack of transportation, that becomes a barrier to getting food that is available. And so thinking about, simple things if you're, watching at home, how we make remote sites available, even in a limited way through the schools. Dr. Ravalli talked about it, et cetera. And we're tackling some really tough issues that have a multitude of solutions. But if we're not talking about it, we're definitely not solving it.
Well, we're identifying the hotspots, and the remote locations is something that's going to be really significant, Franklin. So that's, I don't know that we're ready to give all the details yet because we have an idea, we haven't identified what all the details are. But the idea that it is an expansion in conjunction with the Franklin Food Bank is going to make it that much more accessible to people, not just the kids at school, but the community in general in Franklin Township. I think it's huge. This is just such a huge effort that people of heart in this community have tackled. And thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And Dr. Alex Karazi, our new junior member of the Franklin Township Council, the head of the Interfaith Council in Franklin Township. I know you had a huge part in the inception of FISC. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I came from the point of Interfaith Council. We have about 70 houses of worship in Township. So what you heard from Derek Smith, the director of Food Bank, are only the people that they go to Food Bank. We have a lot of people that they don't go to Food Bank, but they get support from various houses of worship. And so the extent of need is beyond that 100 or 90, 110 families that go to Food Bank. So what this group are together to bring different resources that we have in town and to see if we can really eradicate this issue of the food insecurity. And we are learning more and more that part of the problem is that a lot of people do not know what resources are available in the township, in the county as well, and even the federal government. So that's one of the things that we're hoping that to start a program to educate people. And so one of the slogans that I'm hoping that we will start using is that if you see or hear somebody in need of food, do something. And that something might be just referring to food bank, or maybe just telling them to go to this site and apply for it. And as a council, as a new councilman, always I wanted to utilize the resources that we have as a council to help to eradicate poverty in our township. And the food insecurity is one of them. So that's what I'm heading. I'm hoping that with this many resources that we have in this room, we will really make a huge impact in the next 3 to 5 years. And then we will be a role model for other townships across the country to follow.
Exactly.
Yeah, but thank you very much.
It's just very exciting, the outreach part of it, that it makes it accessible. So there's more to come, Franklin. Thank you, Dr. Karazi. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Mayor Philip Kramer, who's the grandfather of all of Franklin Township. What's your thought about this organization, and how are you participating?
Well, I think that it's an organization that goes beyond the food bank. There are other resources out there. When you have food insecurity, you may have transportation problems, you may have other problems at home, and this is going to expand beyond that. Part of food insecurity can be something like you don't have a car to get to work, you don't have someone to help you with daycare, so you can't work, so you can't earn money to make food, to buy food. And this will hopefully try to stitch all those various things together. I'm here just because I understand government, and government will have a role or can have a role in this, and we can hopefully move it along. The township does give some money to the food bank through our community development block grants, but some people don't know, and I got an email about this the other day complaining about how the food bank was running and how's the town allowing that to happen. The town doesn't allow or not allow the food bank to do what it does because it's not part of the town. They're I want to say on their own, but they have to meet their own finances. It's not part of your taxes. So it's important to support them, and this is a way to support and embellish, is that the right word? Support and expand on what they can do. So it's a very important program. My applause to Sammy and to Ed.
Right, to get this off the ground. There will be future meetings of FISC that we will, in the Franklin Reporter and Advocate, be advertising for you as soon as we have a schedule that can be offered for public attendance where you can actually voice your opinion, because your opinion counts, because you, Franklin Township, are who this is ultimately the benefit of. The food insecurity issue it's a dressy way to say we're hungry. And there are so many issues on a personal level that people are embarrassed sometimes to admit that that's a problem for them. And one of the things that this group, as well as the food bank, continues to try to erase is the stigma of that need. Food is life. Food is what we all need in order to survive and to thrive in this community. This FISC organization is just another stepping stone to making that a reality for Franklin Township. And again, as Sammy said, this is the first program in the county, did he say?
I believe he said the state.
The state, yeah, even more widespread. So it's an example for other counties, other states to follow, and we are so thrilled that this is going on in our community. Thank you for being the mayor of this community, because you are also a physician, and you know what hunger can do, not only psychically and physically, but to the fabric of one's entire existence. So Franklin, take this to heart. Food is life. Donate to your Franklin Food Bank, and pretty soon you're going to have the opportunity to participate on a wider scale in Food Insecurity Safety Coalition. We will tell you more as we receive more information. This is PJ Parker, Franklin Reporter and Advocate, thanking the entire committee who's responsible for heading this and getting it off the ground. We'll be back.
Be well, Franklin.